Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Not Just for the Big Players, Implementing Oracle ERP Cloud, Cloud Analytics, OIC and OCI, Apex, and ADP for a rapidly growing mid-sized commercial construction organization. My name's Michael Mancarti, and I'll be your host today. I am the IT director of the Pence companies, Pence Construction. I have 10 years as an IT leadership in IT leadership roles, 30 years of project management experience, and a background in architectural design and construction management. My role on this project was the program manager. Now I'm going to hand the microphone over to my co-host to introduce
My
herself.
name is Elisabeth Kenaston, and I'm the Director of Finance for the Pence companies. I've been here for 3 years leading the finance group, and prior to that, spent 9 years in public accounting as an auditor and consultant, particularly specializing in the construction industry. My background is in finance and accounting, and I'm a CPA and CCIFP, Certified Construction Industry Financial Professional. So who are we? Who are the Pence companies? We have a long history. We were originally established in Salem, Oregon in 1949 as Dale Pence Contractors, and over the years have grown and added new companies and rebranded. But we have three main lines of business. One is as a general contractor doing large commercial projects, schools, multifamily housing, retail, those sorts of things. We also are a specialty subcontractor doing structural concrete and site concrete. And finally, we have an equipment company that provides the equipment and materials to our two other construction entities. Our offices are all in Oregon, in Portland, Salem, and Bend, with most of our footprint being in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Our employee count is around 360 people, actively have 40 to 50 projects going in each of the general contractor and subcontractor companies, with annual volume approaching $500 million. So as far as where we are, we've been around for 70 years, but it's really in the past few years that we've experienced really substantial growth, which means ways that we've done things before aren't working, or we need to move forward and innovate. We're looking to push the bounds of innovation and automation in an industry that is sometimes a little bit slow moving. We don't accept that, we're challenging it, and really looking to have top quality innovation and edge. When we think about who we are, our mission is to build spaces for people to flourish. And that extends to our customers, employees, communities, and that means providing the best experience. And a big part of that's our technology. That's in a lot of ways how our customers engage with us, certainly how our employees do their jobs. So really critical to our mission to really embrace this topic. And finally, partnerships are so key to our business, and it's important to us to partner with people who are aligned with our values. So throughout this selection and implementation process, we really sought out partners who can deliver on our high expectations and share those values. So we'll talk about them a little bit later in the presentation as well.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Pence has what is known as a BHAG, or a big, hairy, audacious goal. And that is that our people will change the industry standard for what a great contractor experience is. Now, that is not a statement to sit in the shadows and just follow other people, but rather a bold statement of leadership. That means that we're going to forge new paths and try new things and do things that, either we haven't done before, or perhaps even our peers have done before. And so we believe that in order to deliver this, it requires a great employee experience in order to generate a great customer experience. And of course, as Elisabeth mentioned, that includes great systems for top-notch delivery capabilities.
So here we're really here to talk about this pretty dramatic change in our systems, this big implementation we did. So what were the key drivers? What brought us here? We have some finance ones here that we'll talk about in more detail coming up, but at a high level, we found ourselves with numerous repetitive, redundant, and manual tasks. Lots done in silos, opportunity for error, and also just maybe not using people for their highest and best use. It's a lot of manual processes that we wanted to address. Additionally, we have a pretty complex and manual in-house payroll system, certified payroll, union reporting, a lot of things that are challenging and unique to the construction industry that made us hesitate to make a big change. So something really important that we were able to address. And finally, our equipment company was in an entirely different system to track their rentals, do their billings, everything, meaning an enormous amount of duplicative processing to get them in the main ERP. And that was really something that we needed to address to allow us to continue to grow.
Yeah, and so then some of our other drivers included, around our data. So our data was obviously, with multiple systems and a lot of different locations and Excel spreadsheets. So just really disparate, very difficult to pull together and get the analytics that we needed. And then really didn't have any tools or even really a maturity in analytics. And then what we discovered along the way as well is that there was really no acceptable all-in-one ERP to bring both back of house and then our operations together while still meeting our other requirements. And we definitely wanted both. And the other thing that we found, which helped drive our decision, is that ERPs exclusive to the construction industry tend to focus their innovation on operations and not the back end. So again, we wanted to revolutionize both. And then really underpinning this whole thing is that, as a growing organization, we wanted to make sure that we had a strong foundation for that growth with our system for the next 5 to 10 years and remove any limits. So when I first started with Pence 2 years ago, when people would make requests to the IT department, we had to say no a lot because things just weren't possible. And with our BHAG of, our people deciding what the great customer contractor experience is, we had to remove those limits and say, look, the only limit will be your imagination. So that was another driver behind our system decision.
Thank you. So we had all these drivers, all these things we wanted to address. How did we use Oracle and this whole process to provide solutions? So firstly, we are faced with the challenge of all these repetitive, redundant manual tasks. So to address that, we absorbed a lot of those manual processes into Oracle and used those seated functions instead of manual processes. You'll see that we still have a few systems, but really integrating those to reduce redundancy and errors. We also really embraced Oracle's purchase orders and invoices with automated approval hierarchies. So we're not relying on individual people in the AP staff to enforce the delegation of authority or remember who can approve what, but really building it into the system and making it foolproof and really strong in that way. We also leverage Oracle Fast Formulas to get unique HR benefits. We talked before about needing to enhance the employee experience and really wanting to give them room to flourish. And by embracing and setting up the employee manager self-service and HCM and Oracle absence management, that's allowed a lot of things that used to be challenging phone calls, emails back and forth, and really put the power and the information in the hands of our people, which is pretty powerful. We also are using Oracle's AP invoice scanning and cash management to help automate some of our bank reconciliations. Both of these really serve to try to bring our people out of the weeds of manual processes and create space for them to do things that really add value and fill their cup and make their work interesting and challenging. So that's been really positive. We're also printing on blank check stock, whereas previously it was pre-printed MICR, and ultimately looking to just reduce all the manual dumps and manipulation of data and leverage the power that is Oracle Analytics. Now, payroll. I think any company there is nothing more important than payroll. If payroll is 2 pennies off and 2 minutes late, it's a problem. So this was a huge focus to find a way to create more efficiencies for the payroll teams to ensure absolute accuracy and also to meet all of our reporting requirements that are sometimes unique to the construction industry. So this is a place where we did use multiple systems to meet our needs. So we're using ADP to actually process payroll. They're going to do our actual paychecks, tax filings, W-2s, and then we're working with their partner, Points North, to process all the certified payroll and do the union fringes and other things that are real construction specific. ADP also is allowing us to use a lot more self-service, again, speaking to putting power in the employee's hands. They can access historical pay information, W-2s, change their tax withholdings right in the system, more visibility and more power to the employees, and reducing the workload of HR and payroll that would previously have to manage all of these through disparate forms of communication. This is providing a lot of scalability as we grow. We're growing a lot in the past few years, adding more and more staff. These really efficient and well-respected systems will allow us to handle that growth without necessarily needing to continue to add more and more staff to complete manual processes. We also found this to be a really cost-effective solution. Another challenge for contractors is field timesheets. We have a lot of people out in the field working different hours under different rules, and few people managing all of those time cards. So we were able to use Oracle Apex to develop an in-house timesheet that's simpler for field use, has checks and things in it to reduce errors so it doesn't come to the payroll team needing a lot of cleanup. And then for the non-field staff within Oracle Time and Labor, using a lot of payroll rule programming again, so that the time is correct when it's entered and there's warnings and flags to get that really dialed in before it comes to the payroll team. Now, I spoke before about our equipment company and the reality that they were in a totally different system in order to get what they needed to manage rental operations, which is a totally different business than the contracting that our general contractor and subcontractor do. So that was a big challenge, a separate system. And we addressed that by using Oracle, which provided us with a single ERP for all 3 lines of business. We now hold our inventory, orders, and billings. It's all generated within Oracle ERP and using the InnoApps equipment rentals. InnoApps is one of our partners and using one of their systems there. And it all automatically flows together into financials. We're able to bill in the rentals app rather than in Excel. Hallelujah, right? Less things in Excel. Purchase orders also give our project teams visibility into committed costs on equipment, allowing them to better forecast their jobs. A challenge that many of our contracts have is capped pricing. We can rent equipment from a related party until it reaches XYZ point, and then you have to stop. And managing that manually is really challenging. So now that's all built into Oracle SCE and the equipment rentals app, providing greater accuracy, auditability, and just really reducing a headache there. We have integrated on-demand inventory cost accounting between Oracle SCE and financials, and ultimately just world-class procurement and logistic capabilities, giving us that room to grow, removing limits, all of those things that we were looking for.
Yeah, Elizabeth, you mentioned, the auditability. That's something as a smaller organization that wasn't as much of a concern for us. But as you do grow into, the mid and large categories, that becomes, more of an important factor. And that was another driver behind the decisions that we made, is we know that Oracle has that reputation, for being a good audit partner. And I know that that's important to you given your auditing background. So
that's exactly right. It makes my audit heart sing.
Yeah, good choice. All right. So what did we do about our, let's call it our desperate data and analytics situation? Because frankly, as a former director of business intelligence teams, I felt it was desperate, and I know that my business partners agreed. So the first thing that we did is establish a master data discipline and said goodbye to our silos. So, right, we had all these people, repeating information, no one really owning it or owning its accuracy except maybe in their own silo. So that was one of the first things we did, is we identified data owners and owners of our sources of truth. So who owns employees, who owns vendors, who owns pay information, right? Those types of things. And then once we did that, we did do a pretty massive data cleanup to make sure that where our sources of truth were that we were going to use for the conversion to Oracle were accurate. So we started, in good shape on day one. And then ongoing, we have now a master data team, a group of people that meet and talk about our interdependencies with each other on the data. And then also we're talking about, completing audits and doing reporting to make sure that through our business processes and our high level of coordination, that nothing's falling through the cracks. And if it does, that we are able to catch that through an audit and then make the adjustments so people can rely on that data. All right. As I mentioned, I was a BI manager before, and so was really thrilled by the world-class analytics and the power that that could bring to us through Oracle. So that starts with Oracle Transactional BI, or OTBI as it's known. That is giving us a world of out-of-the-box reporting. In my experience, I haven't seen such an extensive offering of out-of-the-box reporting as what's offered with OTBI. So we look forward to exploring that more and seeing, what we can do with what's instant and at our fingertips. It's also, flexible so that we can make changes to it, and then with a little bit of SQL skill set, take it even further. SQL isn't something that our business people know, but that is a common language that business people do get to know over the years as you grow in data and analytics maturity. So I think we'll get good value out of that. And then the next stage is Oracle Fusion Analytics, which gives us some really high value out of the box KPIs, metrics, and dashboards for finance, procurement, and projects. This is a major boost in maturity for us because we don't even have KPIs and metrics yet, and they're sitting there waiting for us. So things like our EBITDA, our outstanding AP and AR, how many POs we're processing. There's a whole host of actually hundreds, if not thousands, of KPIs in there, and these great dashboards. We're just in the early exploration stages of those, and I think as we mature, that we'll start to take advantage of those, and will save us months, maybe if not years, of development experience, so that when we do want to leverage those and we're ready for them, they'll be available to us on day one, so we don't have to wait or spend any additional money. And then we have the Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse. Again, as a former BI manager and now as an IT director, I am thrilled by the Autonomous Data Warehouse because I don't have to hire somebody to manage a server or be a database administrator or anything else. We can just simply leverage the warehouse out of the box and have our people focused on delivering the solutions on it and the business value rather than just keeping the wheels on. So this is exciting because we're able to then extend the analytics capabilities to our other systems and other data around the company, not just limit it to Oracle. And then we can do our custom data models to give us new insights. The final piece of the data puzzle is in the Oracle Integration Cloud. So, data does reside in different systems, and we were okay with that, and we chose some best-in-breed systems and applications very specifically, but we knew that through OIC that they could speak to each other seamlessly and then leverage those single sources of truth and data. All right, so as I mentioned before, so we learned along the way that there really wasn't an acceptable all-in-one ERP for us to bring our back of house and operations together, and that all the innovation in our industry was focused on operations but not back end. So how did we resolve for that? So we're leveraging Oracle ERP and the integration clouds. That allowed us to go again with best in breed and integrate versus just getting benefits for certain functions at the cost of others from picking an all-in-one that's good at one thing but not the other. We did get to keep our current construction operation systems for now. We weren't necessarily super enthusiastic about doing that, but it does allow us to do that while we figure out what we're going to do next for operations over the next couple of years. But at the same time, we massively upgraded our ERP and our analytics capabilities across the board by doing that. And then Oracle ERP provided the innovations that we wanted for back of house and analytical capabilities where the construction ERPs don't measure up. Okay, so the slide that everyone has been waiting for, the new architecture. What does all this look like? I think a good way to sort of summarize this is to say that we have best in breed applications that are fit for purpose and that they are joined either with each other through system integrations or through data integrations. So the system integration starts with the core, the ERP, which houses our financials, our HR and HCM, the supply chain execution and procurement, and our equipment company operations, and then also our CRM or business development application. Some of these things we did complete during our project, and others are either in progress or in our near future. So there you have the ERP, and then we're integrated through files with ADP for, again, our pay processing and our tax filings and the other things that Elisabeth mentioned. And then ADP is integrated with Points North, which handles our union fringes and certified payroll. Then moving to the right, you see that we have Oracle's Integration Cloud, and that is used to communicate with either other applications or with Oracle Apex. The two other applications that are our main ones are for our general and specialty contractor operations, including project management. And we actually have two of the industry's top or most prominent systems for that purpose, CMIC and Procore. So being able to integrate those into ERP Cloud was very exciting for us. I think that's something that even a few years ago might not have been possible, or things that people wouldn't have imagined. And here we are today with that combination that we think is a winning one. Then we have some applications that are delivered through Oracle Apex, which is the low-code environment in Oracle. We have an application that was developed and offered to other people, not just Pence, in the equipment rentals area. And then we have a custom, not available to anyone else but Pence, project forecasting application that was developed by our other partner, OnPlan. We have a field timesheet that is being developed in-house. And then we have what I would consider a safety application that rivals anything else out there in the marketplace. It's currently in our Microsoft low-code environment, but is due for a redesign. And so we're looking at putting it in Apex, because Apex gives us the ability to extend it a lot further than what is possible in the Microsoft environment. So that is all of our system integration. As we move to the right, you'll see that we've got other applications that we use in the enterprise. So Oracle Primavera we use for scheduling. We have Compass, which we use for sub pre-qualification. And then, like many of you do, we have Microsoft 365 for our enterprise content management and collaboration. These things, while important and they have good data in them, they're not necessarily something that has to, where the transactions of these systems have to be integrated. We don't need system integration. Instead, we're going to be integrating those through the Oracle Analytics Cloud down below. And so that gives us the ability to pull all of this data together into the autonomous data warehouse, and then we can create those analytics models using data basically from any system that we have.
Great. So how did we get here? The process has been a long one, and I think that's been good because we've been thorough and intentional. So we began the selection process in winter of 2020. We partnered with Aldrich Technology to map our current processes, our future state, where we want to be, develop an RFP, review submissions, demos, whole 9 yards. And from that, in spring of 2021, we chose Oracle ERP Cloud. And we chose them as the tier 1 ERP. It can give us some of the best financial and HR management that the whole world has to offer. Top-notch analytics, Michael spoke to those, and that's huge. Limitless integration with other applications, and access to a community right with top talent. That's huge, just how well-known Oracle is, the depth of resources. We've got go-getters on our team that are watching YouTube videos. The fact there's access to that is just tremendous. So then in spring 2021, made our business case and budget, made this thing happen so that throughout summer and fall of 21, we could do our planning, and then heading into implementation from winter of 21 through present. Now, we took a phased approach to implementation. I think that was really important.
Absolutely.
One, because we run lean. And two, because our mission and purpose really is to create space for people to flourish. And that means not pushing teams so hard they burst. So being realistic about when and how we can roll things out. So we started with payroll, that ADP flow we talked about, then finance and HCM, followed then by the equipment company, project forecasting, and then OTL in the field timesheet. And of course, post-implementation activities will continue throughout next year as we really become masters of this new system.
All right, Elizabeth, that sounds like a beautiful and perfectly crafted plan, but as we all know, the best laid plans. Okay, so in the middle actually of the project, during really the build phase, actually, we were in the process of building our integrations, and our partner on plan came up with a brilliant idea, but it was very disruptive. Instead of integrating our job costs, which would now be calculated in Oracle, back into our old ERP, CMIC for the forecasting function that was in CMIC, why not invest in a custom forecasting application in Oracle Apex instead? Yes, fantastic idea. However, it's a huge undertaking. Oh, and then while you're at it, let's go ahead and do a custom timesheet for the job site teams as well, and let's do that in-house. So everybody agreed that these were good ideas, that we decided to do them, but of course, that obviously blew a big hole in our project plan, right? So yeah, excuse us, mind if we cut in big fat project forecasting and field timesheet. You can see that's going to turn your implementation plan a bit upside down, so, or potentially. So how did we end up making that work? First, we were very realistic, as Elisabeth said, about our timeline. We did have to adjust it, and we adjusted it for a number of reasons, including this. Um, we did a divide and conquer approach, not only with our partners, but also our internal team. So we relied on our managing partner on plan who had capacity and who brought us the idea to develop the application, while keeping our implementation partner focused on the rest of the scope of the project. And as I mentioned, we formed an additional internal team to focus on this, again, while other people were focused on other things. And then, frankly, and being totally honest, it took a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, many hours, many more hours, I think, than people would have ever dreamed, and constantly adjusting our expectations, not just around timeline, but, um, delivery and everything else. And then, of course, what else would you expect of a construction company, right? That's the story of building. Of course, none of this would have been possible without our partners. As we mentioned before, partnerships are key to our business, and we look for partners that have values that are similar to ours. I think in our system partner, we would say absolutely that we have made a very solid choice by moving to Oracle. We definitely are already seeing how different that experience is than our previous experience, and that we've made the right choice there with value alignment. And then, of course, our implementation partner, InnoApps, who specializes in construction, and they have that certified payroll experience that was really important as we integrated with ADP and Points North. And then we actually had a managing partner who was responsible for project management. They are the ones who did the project forecasting development in Apex, and then also assisted us with some customizations, extensions, integrations, and solutions to address some difficult use cases, while InnoApp stayed focused on the business as usual plan, basically. So again, a giant thank you to those partners for their innovation, commitment, flexibility, and integrity. We definitely could not have done this without them, and we really appreciate them very much. Okay, so what are some of the key challenges that we experienced along the way, and how did we overcome them? What I also like to say is these are the things that you must have or must do if you want to be successful at a project like this. Okay, so challenges. We took on software development. You don't usually do that when you're doing an ERP implementation, or at least I haven't seen that before. But we did decide to do that, right? And as I mentioned before, we took that challenge head on. And some of the ways that we made that work, again, we did a divide and conquer. Adjusted our expectations and were realistic about time and cost. Um, I think we had to adjust our expectations around those two things multiple times to make that work. Another challenge, the timeline. Obviously, we've talked about that a number of times. That was a challenge, and how we overcame it. Then the sorted topic of change and change management. Every project has, the challenge of change management, and you're going to have your early adopters, your resistors to change, and your people who are reluctant or maybe will never change. Um, so one of the ways that we overcame that is that, first of all, I think we had a culture that was ripe for change. A lot of change had already been occurring, as we were moving from a smaller organization to a mid-size. We did have a company-wide alignment and vision on this. I think that was really key. We'll still have stragglers, and there's those, curmudgeons that, are still going to want to do things a different way. You're never going to get past that. But overall, at the company, we had that alignment that was key to bringing the change. Then we had the challenge of unknowns. We experienced lots of those, especially in the software development area, but that wasn't the only one. So, having those knowledgeable partners, having the commitment of our people, and just not being afraid of adjusting our expectations helped us keep things moving when we encounter those unknowns, some of them that would seemingly topple us. Other challenges. So a very small IT. We're taking on Oracle with only 2 application analysts. I hadn't seen that before. So what helped us there is that we did bring on uh, analysts that are very experienced in ERP and ERP conversions, and they were dedicated to the project. So that's key as well. So not only were our IT people dedicated to the project, but so were our business folks, and that is key to success. If you are going to try and take on a project like this, and you're going to have people split between business as usual and this project, you probably won't be successful. I think we were pretty good about setting those expectations up ahead of time. We looked at percentages of time that people would be devoted to at different times of the project, but frankly, people had to kick in even more than we expected. And because of our commitment and alignment across the company, we were able to do that. We had actually few team members with system implementation experience. So that meant people were seeing things for the first time, didn't know what to expect. So again, having an IT department with the experience and partners with experience, and then just the grit and commitment from our people helped us overcome that. And then our final challenge. I want to preface this one by saying that we don't mean this to be a judgment necessarily to ADP, but it's the reality of what we experienced. So as we started working with ADP, the first surprise that we encountered was that they actually personally could not handle our certified payroll, but that we would actually have to use a separate vendor for that. That was a bit of a shock to us, and we ended up adjusting in the end, but that was something we would have liked to have known at the beginning. We had a really good analyst helping us build our footprint in ADP and in Points North. They were both excellent, but on the ADP side, that person started becoming overwhelmed. Resources appeared constrained on their side while they still had a lot of demand. So we started seeing them, fade away, and communications became spotty. We ended up escalating a couple times, but that really didn't seem to make a difference. And in the end, we got there, and it's actually one of the smoothest and best running processes that we have now. But it was a crazy effort to get there. And we had no idea sometimes whether we were actually going to make it or not. And unfortunately, ADP was not really good at helping set those expectations and make us feel confident. And so, we just want to let the community know what our experience was. Not that we would do anything different. I think we would probably still do this, take this approach, but it would have been very good for us to know that this would be our experience. So we would be able to manage it and manage our expectations around it better. So that's our, gift to you as a community to just let you know that that could be your experience. I've heard that other people have had that experience. Some people haven't. It could just be circumstances of 2022 that a lot of us experience where you have a lot of demand from customers, but don't necessarily have a lot of resources and another, a whole host of other circumstances happening in our lives with the pandemic and other things. So, uh, yeah, so those were our challenges, and that is how we overcame them. So, what is next for Pence? So, we are, in line with our BHAG, are going to continue to work to improve our employee and customer experience, leveraging systems where we can to achieve that. We are going to keep pushing the boundaries of innovations and limits, especially in areas that are commonly ignored by our industry. We are going to continue to lead and not follow, and strive for top-notch delivery capabilities to our employees and customers, which is why we're here. And so we've got four major projects that we're considering for our future. So one, we're going to be leveraging our new Oracle Analytics capabilities. We've got some big ideas there, some great stuff that we think will give us a competitive edge. We now have a system poised to help us deliver that. I obviously can't give those details away. We can't give all of our secrets away, but we've got some good stuff there. We intend to advance our Oracle Apex project forecasting application, which is one of the reasons we decided to do one on our own. We didn't want to be dictated by the industry to tell us how we're going to forecast. We want to do that for ourselves. And one of the things that we're considering is utilizing advanced analytics of artificial intelligence and machine learning to reduce risk. So machines can go back, look at our data, look at our history, and start to tell us when we're running into potential trouble and make correlations that we're not able to perceive today. Even with really fine staff members, there's just things that don't occur to people because we don't know that they're correlated, but a machine can find those and bring those forward. We are planning to automate other functions into Oracle ERP Cloud and Apex. So we have some other functions in the company that we'll be considering for that. Obviously, where we think we're going to get the highest ROI on that, including our owner billing and some other areas. And then we will go back to and consider again a new system for the remainder of our operations to replace CMIC. We did look at Oracle Aconex before, and we looked at Procore before when we took this project on. I'm frankly glad that we decided not to take that on, given all the other things that we did, including doing forecasting. But they weren't feasible for us to do for other reasons. So we'll be taking a second and perhaps even a third look at those and see if they're the answer for us or perhaps something else. All right, I want to thank you for choosing to listen to us and joining us. And I also invite you to get a hold of myself or Elisabeth if you're interested in discussing other details or have questions. And our contact information is on the second slide in this deck. Again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.